Welcome back to the Nove Podcast, the place where leadership, technology, and humanity collide. I'm your host, Nathan Owens III, and today we're exploring one of the most important conversations happening in business right now, how leaders stay human in a world increasingly shaped by AI. My guest, I am so excited to call him my guest, my fellow thoroughbred, my friend, is Lou Williams, Vice President of Tech Mahindra, the author of the new book, Human in the Loop, Purpose-Driven Leadership in the Age of AI. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been just taking it all in. This is a great book. We will get more into this later in the show. Lou's work challenges leaders to rethink accountability, culture, and what it means to lead in an era where technology is accelerating faster than organizations can adapt. Lou, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nate. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and you overdid yourself with that introduction. I feel honored.
The honors is all me, man. Listen, I love it when I know people that's actually doing something and really changing the landscape. And we'll get into all of this, but your road to where you are today is highlighted with so many things that I definitely want to get into. So let's start, with the core phrase, but before we get into that, I really want the readers, I want the listeners to know a little bit about your background, where you came from, what led to your thinking, what experiences led you to even write this book. So let's talk more about you.
Sure. So Lou Williams, as you mentioned, I'm a VP for a tech company. I've been working in manufacturing, tech, and customer service for over 25 years now. I would have to say, in terms of how I got to where I am, it was pretty organic. Just got up every day and did some of the leadership things and leadership principles I outline in the book, just be better day over day. And I had a lot of people tap me on the shoulder and ask me to help come solve problems. So I can't say I did have a through line of where I wanted to be in my career, but I'm nowhere near it. I'm actually better than what I had planned. So
aren't we all?
As you mentioned, proud attendee of Kentucky State University. I didn't finish my bachelor's degree there, but I did spend 3 glorious years there. Obviously, it changed the trajectory of my life, socially, educationally, even spiritually, right? So from there, I came home and kind of jumped right into my career at General Motors. I was there for about 13 years, progressive roles and responsibility, launching delivery centers all over the world. I had the opportunity to travel internationally. I was able to, support OnStar, which at that point was just a fledgling.
I remember OnStar, yeah.
And OnStar was interesting because it was a tech startup inside of a 150-year-old manufacturing business. And, those two things conflict just by their sheer nature, right? But I had an opportunity to work there from, when I started, there were 7,000 subscribers. By the time I left, it was 7 million. And I got to ride that entire trajectory for good or for bad. And it gave me, some experience and some discipline early in my career that's translated into, again, a lot of the leadership lessons that I've learned and now documented in the book.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. From there, I spent time at Ford and Stellantis. So I've done all the big three. My grandfather and father spent time at both Ford and General Motors. And I said, when I came back to Detroit, it's not going to work in automotive. And here I am 25 years later, working in, manufacturing, automotive, and tech. So that's kind of how I got there. What I do today is I support a huge portfolio of manufacturing, aerospace, and defense clients, and I support their business process needs. So whether it be back office F&A, whether it be customer service delivery, and most important to this conversation, their AI deployments. I have a lot of interesting conversations with a lot of tier 1 and Fortune 100 companies about how AI is going to, or is impacting their landscape
right now
in a meaningful way, right? So you asked how I kind of converged on this. I finished my MBA a few years ago. It was in data analytics, which is kind of a precursor for where we went with AI. And obviously talking and having conversations with my clients about AI, it was a perfect convergence. What I noticed was the gap. And so the gap was everybody wanted to deploy AI, everybody's interested in this new technology and cost savings, and everybody's moving really fast, but no one has slowed down to have the leadership conversation, the governance conversation about why you want to deploy, what you're going to deploy, and how it's going to evolve without you if you don't put specific parameters in place. So, that's my 4-minute pitch of who I am and how I kind of got to where I am now.
No, I know. I love that. I love that framing because it kind of puts us back against the idea that even with your career, AI is going to replace leaders. What you're seeing, and even I think you kind of mentioned in your book, AI reveals the leaders. It exposes clarity, the intentionality, and purpose. I'm an engineer. I love technology. I'm trying to jump all into it. Many leaders are excited, to your point, about the AI, but others are worried about it too. So what do you believe leaders are getting wrong about the AI conversation today?
So I think they're scared to admit what they don't know. If you ask 10 leaders what AI is, you'll get 7 different answers and 7 wrong answers. Right? And here's the convergence, right? There's been this separation kind of church and state or technical and business process for years, right? As a business manager, I never really had to be technical. I just told my technical peers what I needed. And they created, the requirements and they deployed it. That's no longer the case. You can't just be, solely a business manager anymore. You have to be at least technical enough to be dangerous.
That's right.
And so when you ask what they're getting wrong is, I don't think they've done the proper research. They're reading the headlines. They may be reading the first paragraph of the McKinsey and Boston Consulting Group.
The buzzwords.
Right, but they're not diving deep into what the technology is actually doing, nor why they're trying to deploy these things. So I think what they're getting wrong is not stepping back, not taking a pause and a breath and saying, as a leader, how do I now, I manage people all day. I've been conditioned to do that. And how do I manage individual agentic functions and people combined, right? And how do I make sure that people still know that they're valuable? How do I make sure that the AI doesn't overshadow or, input biased into the process? And how do I do this all seamlessly, and maintain my margins, right? At the end of the day, that's what people are, or what, executives are charged with, making sure it's profitable, but you have to make sure that it's profitable and moral.
Profitable and moral. So, early on,
moral, ethical. Yeah.
No, understood. So one of the things that also stood out to me was, and I told you this offline, when I was reading the book, I was literally putting myself. I love books that puts me in the author's shoes. And Lou, I'm telling you, I felt like I could live your life, walking into those rooms and understanding those challenges and things like that. And you really drove in early on accountability. How does accountability change in an AI driven world?
So I think accountability is an interesting topic, and let's decouple the technical conversation from pure leadership. What's the word I'm looking for? Leadership qualities. So there are times where leaders don't take accountability, right? So I think before you talk about how you make yourself accountable in this age of AI, are you holding yourself accountable in general? A lot of times when things go wrong, and I've seen it at every level, from when I was an analyst, all the way up to the CEO in some cases, where before they stop and make the assessment about whether or not they own something, they assign blame, right? and it's human nature. It's human nature. Not my fault. Not me. Right? But when you're in a leadership position, absolutely you, right?
You own it.
And I'll give credit to Jocko Willink and Leif Babbitt. They wrote a book called Extreme Ownership. If you haven't read it, you should read it. I can see a marked difference in my career before and after I read that book. These guys are 2 Navy SEALs, battlefield commanders, now business consultants. And they talk about that 30 seconds or 3 seconds in some case where you assess the situation, what's went wrong, what do you do in that moment? Do you try to look at the landscape and figure out who did what wrong, or do you immediately say, this is my fault? right? Doesn't matter if I touched it, doesn't matter if I knew about it. The scope, breadth, and depth of this engagement is my fault. So in terms of leaders in today's environment, we have to first look inward and say, okay, anytime something, we want to take credit when things are good, right? There's no question. Everybody wants the praise, but you have to also take the challenges that come with it, and people will respect you in a different way too. When you first say, okay, let me take ownership for this. Now let's figure it out.
That's right.
So going back to your core question, what does that mean and how does that translate into AI? I think it is putting together a governance structure, right? Ask those questions. And I'll make this is going to be more of probably a philosophical conversation than a technical conversation, but even as simple as these 5 business processes that I've looked at, and I'm talking from a retail side right now. I was working with one of my clients and they've got Salesforce, Agentforce / Einstein, right? And so there were 5 business processes that they were trying to agentify. And I was like, my feedback was, and just because I was an operator before I was a client relations manager, is these first 2, you shouldn't probably ever automate, right? Because not if you care about your customers. Your customers are going to.
You don't want to lose that.
You need that human empathy that I don't think AI will ever be able to replicate, right? We can fake it. We can look at sentiment analysis. We can try to pivot the conversation from a technical standpoint, but a human, and I'll tell you, it's like the anticipation before walking into a room, that angst that you get. The agent will never get that, right? It's when you have to give somebody some bad news, being empathetic about their situation. An agent, I think even at its highest form, will never truly be able to translate that. So again, from an ownership and accountability right up front about the processes that you're going to automate, you need to think through why you're automating them and whether or not it makes sense.
Got it. Let's talk about the future. So let's kind of think about where the industry is going, what's going to be the most important skills from that perspective. From your viewpoint, and you've been out there, you've seen the industry, you talk to a lot of different people. When you think about, and you kind of got into that when you talk about the leadership skills, for the next decade, the leaders, where do you see as the most single point of contention when it comes to having the right leadership, having the right leadership skills for the next decade? What is that single most leadership skill that's going to be important?
So there were 2 things. One was self-awareness, and the second was curiosity. So self-awareness is something we should always have, regardless of what you're doing, right? You have to be able to look at yourself, and not just it's easy for us to perceive who other people think we are. It's harder for us to be honest about who we are. There are some cases, and I have this conversation a lot with my clients too. I'm only going to have a conversation to the point of my expertise, and then I would be doing you a disservice if I tried to go beyond that. But I have other experts that are in my network. I have other people who are part of my team that will, that understand it thoroughly and will walk you through it.
Got it.
So that's the first thing, regardless of the technical overlay. From a technical standpoint, we have to be curious. So, I work with folks who are building the agents. I work with strategists. And it's interesting when you talk to those 2 audiences. Obviously, the technical guys are they're engineering savvy, right? So they're very focused on the buttons, the clicks, and all of that. You talk to strategists, they have no clue what the technical underbelly is. They just know they wanted to do something, right? And for both of those groups, not that I'm the expert because I take this advice myself, for both of those groups, I challenge them to do research on the other, right? So you have to be curious. This is such a new wave of innovation, and things change every day, and at a pace that our human brain at some point doesn't even have the capacity to manage. So if you're not constantly, I read white papers every day. I read, there's several books that, I'll give you the link to that kind of discuss, strategies and theories, but you've got to be curious. The interesting about that is having been in this industry or this line of work for 25 years, you always had to upskill quickly, but we're getting to a pace where no one from a biological standpoint will be able to keep up with pace.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about every app that's coming out. The agents that are working together, the orchestration layers, like all of that stuff. There's no way for your human brain. I don't care who you are. You can be Sheldon Cooper, for your human brain to conceptualize and maintain all of that.
Yeah.
So you have to continue the loop. And it's just a different time and a different way of thinking. You've got to be very curious every day, and you have to be able to say, okay, what I do yesterday doesn't apply today. So those are the two things.
No, and so no, I hear you wholeheartedly. When you was going through that, in my mind, I was thinking about all those different assessments I had to take through the course of my career. Myers-Briggs, and and I know what gets me up in the morning. At the end of the day, now I'm an engineer by education. I love the tech stuff. Now, am I going to be on the computer 12 o'clock at night trying to maybe? But I know my strength, at the end of the day. Right. So ideally, I want somebody I can go to that can, fill that gap for me from that perspective. What I heard was, leaders who win won't be the ones who know the most, but they'll be the ones who can learn the fastest, know, and that's not, it may not come out of a book. It may come from your peer on your team or your colleague,
What's interesting though, too, is that every agent, they want every agent to be customized, right? It's the core of personalization.
Yep.
And so when you do that and the agents again start working together and they start networking and they start learning, there is a point, like I said, where biologically we can't keep up. So if you don't think about how you want to govern, that's a key word today, how you want to govern these intelligent beings, for lack of a better term, before you create them, we could put ourselves in a very precarious situation.
Fair enough. So when I was going through the book, I was trying to write down some potential themes from there. These are my own anyway. Let me put it this way. So there's a tension between automation and humanity. There's a purpose as a leadership anchor. Leaders as architects of meaning. Building systems that elevate people and don't replace them. Those are my themes that I picked up. When a leader finishes your
book, it. You're dead on. You're the absolute audience that I wrote this book for. Then, dead on.
You probably already answered my question now. So, when a leader finishes your book, what do you hope they walk away with?
So first is the acknowledgement of the gap, right? Just because we can move fast doesn't mean we always should, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm not the only one saying this. The Sam Altmans of the world, the guys who are on the cutting edge are saying this too. Like, we know we're moving fast and we're not stopping, but I just want to let you know, we probably shouldn't be doing what we're doing. So that's the first thing.
We need to slow down. We need to take just slow down a little bit. Yeah.
just a tad before we do something that is irreversible.
Yeah.
The other thing is, again, hopefully through my stories and my journey, as elementary as they may be, you can overlay your experience and start to identify some of these things in your day-to-day routine that will not only impact how you interact with AI, but your leadership overall, right? I think another theme in the book is that leaders create other leaders. I am huge on this. I spent a lot of my time mentoring people at multiple levels. I've mentored some of my peers, but who I really get excited about is our frontline managers. That are young, that are ambitious, that are more technical savvy than me, and that are asking how I navigated, from frontline business analyst to the executive suite. And again, a lot of times it's a lot less technical than you think. It's about relationship management. It's about self-awareness. It's about situational awareness. Right. And so that's what I want people. I want people to key in on how we govern. They call them hats, human and agent teams going forward.
Got it.
But I want this to be an introspective or reflective piece for people. In their leadership, right? You and I have probably less than 20 years left in our career, but there are a lot of people that are coming behind us. And I want to influence the next generation of leaders to stop. And just because it can be automated doesn't mean it should be. There are certain things that your humanness should reflect out into the universe.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing too, and I think I mentioned this in the book too. The more that we use these tools that get it done in 30 seconds, the less cognitive ability or cognitive functioning and strengthening we're doing, right? So what would have taken me, probably 30 minutes to write an email, 4 years ago, I'm done in 2 minutes now, right?
Yeah.
But did it and the quality is just as good. I mean, it's learned me, it understands how I process information, how I think. But it not, I won't say it's a crutch, because there are times where I cut it off and just do it myself. But I know to do that. I don't know if the younger population will think to do that.
That's the wisdom, I think, that comes with working with the tools at the end of the day, versus, someone like my son who look at it as a task. I can press this button and it just does what it's supposed to do.
Yep.
Where's the context behind that, though? Why are you doing that? Yeah.
As you know, my wife is a principal, right? And so one of the areas that we've talked about or addressed is education as well. And so as we did the launch for the book and the panel review, one of the teachers that was there talked about how she governs her classroom now. And instead of fussing or yelling about students using AI, she asked them for their prompt, and she grades their prompts, because the logic is now in the prompts. Right. Which was a very interesting twist that I would have never thought about, in terms of how it's just like us in calculators. Right. Well, maybe the generation before us in calculators, we used them. But when calculators came about, math teachers are like, oh my God, the world is ending. No one should use calculators. You should do it, on paper.
Show me your answer. How did you get there?
How did you get there? And that makes sense. The reasoning and the logic makes sense, but the tool itself should not dictate the advancement. Same with AI. Right.
That's right.
It's a tool. We are the governing body today. Now, next generation, we can get into that. What that means for us when they actually become sentient, self-aware.
Right? When so let's talk about what chapter was the hardest for you to write?
I'm gonna say, and let me go to my handy dandy reference. I'm gonna say probably chapter 7 if I think of it off the top of my head. And I'll tell you why here in just a second. So give me just a second.
We're in the book club. I got mine with me.
You said when is the book club?
No, I'm saying we're in the book club right now. You got your book, I got my book. You said I'm going to chapter 7 right now.
100%. The courage to reinvent. Okay. Right. And it's not the reinvention, because things left untasked will reinvent themselves. It's your active ability to reinvent yourself. There was a time where, I spent the first 13 years of my career at GM, left there, went to Ford. And then after that, I went to a supplier and I was supporting Google. And so I worked at GM in the Ross Perot days, where you had to wear a suit. And it was very stuffy, and a lot of ex-military leaders were in leadership, so that dictates the environment. If you were 1 minute early for a meeting, you were late. People were checking to see if you were at your cubicle or in your office. Like, it was GM was probably the best and the most challenging. It was like iron sharpens iron. So it was a very focused environment. But those skills have translated through the course of my career. But I'll go down that path later. But I say that, I use that as I was in a very, very regimented environment that was very militaristic. And as I navigated through my career and I went into a Google environment, and I went out and, and sat in Mountain View, and people were taking naps in $50,000 nap pods. And my team at the site I ran, maybe you see them, maybe you don't. But the people that you thought were the worst performers were at the top of the globe. And so it forced me to reinvent my approach to leadership, because my first response was, why aren't you at your desk? And the leaders that were there that I was now managing were like, don't mess with him. Just please just leave him alone. He's at the top of the globe. And so it wasn't him, because there was a new way of working, and it was successful. And I had a team again that was global leading performer, but it was a more relaxed, youthful environment. And at that point, I was probably about 38, 39. So I'm the old guy. Average age of my team was like 23. And so they're looking at me like I'm grandpa. So I quickly had to adapt if I wanted to be successful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that level of reinvention is important.
Yeah.
And I still carry it to this day. Like, we are in a paradigm shift now where we have to restructure our thinking.
Yep.
Things that worked yesterday will not work tomorrow. They don't work today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So seven had a close place to my heart. Like, constantly reinventing yourself.
Wow. Wow. What surprised you the most? I mean, I don't know how long it takes for one to put a book together. I know it's not an easy task at the end of the day. Many people have thought about it and said, you know what? I'll leave that to somebody else. I'd rather have a ghostwriter or something. But
the first thing is that writers write.
Yeah.
Right. And your first draft, it almost has to be stream of consciousness, and you can't get into the editing while you're drafting. Then you have to go back and find a structure, right? So the first thing I did in terms of putting a framework together was, what do I really want to say? I've had a couple of people reach out to me and ask that exact same question, like, how do I start? I go, you have to ask what your purpose is. Like, what do you really want to do? My purpose is not to sell 1 million books. If I do, that's nice. But my purpose was, there was a gap. I identified it. I'm somewhat of an expert in the area. And I would see many other people having this conversation. So let me add my perspective to the conversation for whatever it is. The process itself took from, I started shortly after my birthday, August 14th of last year, and I was done by February. And so I was cranking out, and here's how I knew it was meant to be. I've got probably 3 or 4 other manuscripts that have sat on the shelf for years.
Get out of here. Are you? Wow.
Yeah, to the point to where I go back and read them, and some of the stuff I wrote in my 30s, I was like, you're an idiot.
You see the growth.
You see the growth, and now you cannot touch it anymore because it's a totally different work. So, and looking at that, and part of this process was, okay, let me pull out this. What stopped me here? And I clearly identify, either life happened, or it wasn't something I was passionate about, or it wasn't something that shouldn't even have been written about. And so I had in my mind, and again, I'm over 50 now, so my level of discipline is much different. But I had in my mind, you've got to finish this. Kind of the same with grad school. You get to grad school, first thing I did was map out, how many months do I have before I finish? How many credits do I need? How many assignments? Like, I'm real anal like that. So I kind of did the same process. You've got to hit the finish line. It's a marathon. And then I, again, started restructuring my thoughts. And I was very careful about who I told. There might have been 2 or 3 people that I told that I was writing the book. And so by February, I had maybe 45, maybe 50,000 words done. And this is where it came back. And I thought I had a pretty good piece, but this is where it came back to, okay, now there are experts in publishing. There are editors, there are consultants, blah, blah, blah. What do you need to do? And so Spines ended up editing it for me. They're my publisher. And so it was interesting, that process, because out of probably 50,000 words, they probably there was a lot of grammatical and spelling errors, after a while, but they gave feedback, and it was consultative approach to strengthening the content. So again, one is, you have to know why you're doing it. You got to structure, you got to just do the task.
You just got to do it.
You got to structure it. You got to bring in the experts when necessary. The last thing I'll say is, this book was passion. I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and start writing, like, not even think about it. I'd be at the gym. In the sauna, like, oh, and there
that's
are
when you know. That's when you know. Yeah.
It was. I won't say, I'll steer clear of the divine inspiration notation, but that's almost like what it was. Like, you got something to say, let's say it, and and it wasn't even about how it was responded to. It was like, I had to get it out of my spirit.
There's a lot of people that's going through a lot of changes, and hopefully I won't get too off topic, but because the world is changing right now, the job market is changing. It's so difficult out there. I recognize that, but people are finding a different purpose, to your point, or finding their purpose. Maybe I am not a Tyler Perry fan. I am not. I don't watch his movies, but I respect him as a brother. But I'm just not into the movies. But I will say one thing that he said that really stuck with me. He said that when doors when his doors closed, he looked at it as walls. He was saying that it was life changing him, redirecting him to his ultimate purpose at the end of the day. I think people love the fact that when the door closes, it's really the world, the universe, God, whoever you want to say, is redirecting you to your purpose. Waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning because you're thinking about it, because it's in your spirit.
It's in your spirit.
A lot of people do not feel that, and I think long for something like that, and it comes out so authentic at the end of the day. And so, no, I appreciate what you just said there. Ultimately,
Thank you.
So for listeners. One takeaway from this conversation, anyway. What's that idea you want that you want to stick? What would it be?
It's got to be more than one. Again, accountability. You've heard woven throughout.
Sure.
The theme. Self-awareness. You've heard too. But be the best leader you can be. Right. So again, one of the things I said in the book is that technology evolves, but leadership is like an ancient principle, right? Leadership has been around since, we were nomads, right? Somebody had to take charge and, establish protection and things like that. That has not changed regardless of how technical savvy we get.
Yeah.
But you have to, be aware of who you are, what your abilities are, and you have to take ownership for your leadership. And when I say leadership, of course, this is a corporate setting, but I apply it to every aspect of my life, my home life, my relationships, that extreme ownership overrides everything I do in every part of my life. I don't compartmentalize that. It's extreme ownership. So if I want people to take one singular message away from this is, be the best leader you can be. Right. Yeah. And that requires discipline. That requires exercising those leadership muscles. That requires curiosity. That requires, bringing in experts when you realize that your expertise has stopped. It's really acute self-awareness.
Got it. No, I love that.
And execution. So it's not just about planning in a box. You got to actually go do it. Right. I say that from a personal standpoint because I've got grown adult males who have the best plans in the world, but if you don't take the next step, it means nothing to me, right? So
I hear you. Execution matters. Yeah, best laid plans, but you got to execute at the end of the day.
Mean nothing if you don't take that first step.
So what's next for you? You got the book. What's next for you and for the Human in the Loop movement? I'm gonna call it a movement.
The movement. I love that. So a couple things. I've already started jotting notes for the second volume in the series, and I won't, I won't give you any teasers just yet. But
okay.
I'll come back and talk about that. And I've dedicated that time after my birthday. So my birthday starts fourth quarter every year, and seasons change and the pace slows down, and it's kind of a reset for me. So I've started with the notes, but I'll actually start the writing sometime in August, September timeframe.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah.
What has come organically out of this that I never really planned was some of the companies that I've interacted with so far have obviously purchased books in bulk, but they've also asked, in some cases, for us to come in and do an assessment.
Yeah.
And it's two-tier. One is leadership team, C-suite and above, in terms of how to position themselves and start thinking about AI and that governance model we talked about. But then in one or two cases, they're asking for us to look at their systems, right? And say, okay, we've got Copilot, but we don't know how to use it. Or, how do we integrate Claude into, or we're using Salesforce or what. And so that's a much different execution, right? I'll be honest with you. I love my day job, right? I love fact that I get to interact with, Fortune 100s and some of the smartest people in the industry and get to help them solve problems. So it's and my leadership team, they have been very supportive in this effort, this endeavor. I remember shortly after I released, I got on a call with my boss and the chief marketing officer and our COO, and my boss goes, "Hey, you guys, you're in the presence of greatness." So you don't often get that in a corporate structure where they know that it's not distracting me from anything else, and they're supportive of. So
Yeah.
again, I plan on keeping my day job. But at some point in the future, we'll look in terms of branching out. There are some speaking engagements that I have. I'm supposed to do something for the Southwest or the Urban League of Southwest Ohio. There are some things that I won't go into full names, but there's some major folks that I'm having conversations with in terms of keynote speaking and leadership kind of team consulting. So that's what's immediately next. And hopefully next year around this time, what's this, July, maybe July, August, book 2, you'll see.
Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. So Lou, we got to land this plane, man.
Sure.
I got a couple of rapid fires for you. So this,
okay. I'm ready.
I hope you're ready.
I did my push-ups this morning after I walked my 3 miles.
5 questions, quick answers. Okay. Whatever comes to mind first. All right. Okay. Here we go. What's one leadership book besides your own that changed how you think?
Extreme Ownership, Leif Babbitt and Jocko Willink.
If you can be a Marvel character, who would you be?
Black Panther.
You got to look up like, duh.
I walk around with vibranium in my veins.
What's one habit that keeps you grounded as a leader?
Habit? Let's see. Okay, you said rapid fire. I wasn't.
I'm not gonna stick. I'm not gonna too nitty gritty about it, but yeah.
No. That keeps me grounded is mentorship, right? Having conversations and removing the pretense of title, and just really making a human connection. In most cases, folks I lead, but in a lot of cases, folks that are outside the organization that are looking for help. So that keeps me. That takes me back to 2001, 2002, when I was that person sitting in the office asking, those very direct questions.
Got it. Okay. All right. If you weren't doing this work, what would you be doing?
If you ask my mom, I'd be a pastor, but I think I curse too much to be a pastor.
Hey, pastors wasn't always a pastor. I know some pastors that was always pastors.
So on a serious note, though, if I wasn't doing this, I'd probably be in law enforcement somewhere. Like that was, before I came to Kentucky State, I took the MLOTC, which is the Michigan law enforcement exam, and I took the gap. I was thinking about going to the Navy and maybe military police, but that was, and actually when I was in my early 40s, I qualified for Cincinnati's Cincinnati Police Department cadet program. So
get out.
Yeah, so it'd probably be somewhere in law enforcement.
Yeah, service. You are a man about service. That's what's oozing out of you. That's what's keep coming out. Okay.
And when you get, I think I always have been, but when you get to, and I've not made it by any stretch of the imagination, when you get to the point where I've achieved those framework goals.
Yeah.
And now it's very important to me, not even to leave a legacy that I'm remembered, but to make sure I leave people and organizations better off than I found them.
Awesome. I love that. The future belongs to, finish that statement.
Those that are preparing themselves today. Those who are actively preparing themselves, seeing the signs. You ask yourself, and this is specifically when it comes to the corporate slice, what's made people successful, and it's their ability to see things before they happen, right? And then once they see them, be able to manipulate or control the market in a way that is beneficial to them specifically. Now, that's a very corporate margin revenue driven answer, right? If I look at it, under the framework of this book, it is to, again, self-awareness, ethical operations, morality, realize that the technology is going to mirror the core of who you are. So you need to work on self-improvement and making yourself better, right? So that's who the future belongs to, in the vein of this discussion.
Love it. No, love it.
Cool.
Lou,
what's up?
Thank you for joining me, man.
It's been a pleasure, man. Thank you for reading the book. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the platform. I really appreciate the support.
No doubt, no doubt. I think this work is timely, it's necessary, it's deeply human. I will say that. For everyone listening, go pick up Human in the Loop, Purpose-Driven Leadership in the Age of AI. It is one of the most important leadership books of this moment. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with a leader, share it with your friend who wants to hear it. And always stay curious, stay intentional, and stay human. And if you didn't know, now you know, Vay. Thank you, Lou.
Have a good one. Thanks a lot, Nate.